is it a good thing for me to say that I've actually watched the new Lord of the Rings show? Because I have, and boy, God, good God, thinking back of it. Before I go on, I tend to be very forgiving of a lot of shows. Like when I saw Star Wars: The Last Jedi, I was not that angry towards it. I was more numb to it because I kind of already written off that Disney was not going to handle Star Wars very well. It's very funny. Yeah, I just tend not to look at things so negatively, but this, I just watched it not too long ago. Both episodes, they premiered 2 episodes yesterday. Funny enough, they actually changed the release date from today until yesterday. They seem to have gotten the memo very late that they're releasing these 2 episodes on the date of Tolkien's death was not going to be a very good idea. But, boy, I cannot be optimistic. This sucks. This sucks. This is not going to be good. So, I feel like I'm going to be ripping off kind of like the YouTuber Disparoos type videos, but I don't know. I feel like this... I don't mean to do anything that if he ever sees this, but gosh, I have a lot to say about this. I don't know. I'm not that well versed on the lore. It's been a while. I only read the Silmarillion once, and I haven't read any of the other stuff that he's written or his Tolkien's son Christopher has compiled in the history of Middle Earth. So my memory of the lore is kind of fuzzy, but it can't be as good as say Nerdrotic's videos are. And I hope I'll do this very quickly because they're gonna do their next Friday Night Tights stuff, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. But I have a lot of stuff to say because even something that who's always kind of be optimistic or at least numb to a lot of stuff, I can't look past all this stuff. So hopefully I won't get copyright struck for this, but we'll see. Let's see, where's the audio? Mute that. I don't want this to be heard. Nope, stop. So, yeah, so what the show is going to be is supposed to be set in the second age of Middle Earth, where, funny enough, I happen to have the Return of the King in my hands right here, and I just happened to look through the little appendices of that. If I get to the right page, Appendix B. Appendix B has a little timeline of various years, mainly the Third Age, where a lot of the stuff takes place. But here's something that it says here. Like, in the Second Age, the tale of the years says, "These were the dark years for men of Middle Earth, but the years of the glory of Numenor. Of events in Middle Earth, the records are few and brief, and their dates are often uncertain." So you can be safe to assume that they're just going to be making stuff as they go, because if dates are uncertain and history is very, very scant in that time, you know that Amazon's just going to straight up make it up as they go along. I guarantee you that the stuff that we're going to see here is not what Tolkien had intended. So, like, it's supposed to be set in the Second Age where Sauron's coming back, and it starts with like this little flashback to, I guess, before the First Age, back in the days of Valinor with the 2 trees. We see a child, Galadriel, who's trying to make a little boat of her own, made out of like paper craft or whatever, and it's setting down the sea, and these elf children are harassing her. They're bullying her. They're just making fun of her, and when they sink the ship, she just goes and attacks them. So she just fights them, and then I'm gonna get copyright strike for this, and I'm not playing any sound, but yeah, she just attacks them. Like, doesn't this add so much to Galadriel's character? We're so glad to see that she was bullied as a kid. Good God. And then there's a scene where she's talking with her brother, Finrod, and he says, like, obviously, this is not based off of anything where there's any dialogue, but, so they're obviously going to have to make up some of their own, but, oh boy, this is, like, some sort of crap this is like some sort of, like, pseudo-philosophical bullshit. This is bullshit. Like he asks him the question, like, trying to comfort her, like, do you know why a ship floats and a stone cannot? I'm pretty sure that's obvious, but he has to make some sort of bullshit philosophical garbage. Like, he just makes some sort of weird poetic thing, and this was really stupid. Like, do you know why a stone sinks and a boat doesn't? Like, who cares about that? Like, what kind of point are you trying to make? Anyway, like, this is not a very good sign, even though then it shows him walking over. You see the two trees, like Telperion and Laurelin, I think that's their names. And just gives a little brief history of the first age, where we see only just brief snippets of the wars that were fought in that age. I need to read the Silmarillion again. There's just so much there is just so much depth to Tolkien's lore, and it's just crazy. But you know what? I wish we could see this stuff. Like, you only just see brief glimpses in just this little prologue. And that's more interesting. Like, as the Return of the King said, like, the Second Age was not very well chronicled. Like, the First Age seemingly was, and I want to see that. There's so much to it, and put in the right hands, I think it could be amazing, but nope. We just gotta make our own stuff, because we can't be beholden to Tolkien's lore. And so anyway, cuts to thousands of years later, where Galadriel, we saw this scene from the trailer back during the Super Bowl, where she's climbing, and we get to introduce into adult Galadriel as in the minds of Amazon, where she's this sour, bitter, angry warrior who's just determined to find any traces of Sauron, no matter what, even going through this blizzard where they could possibly die. He said, "Commander, wait! No, we keep moving. We're almost dying, but I have to do my own thing. I have to fulfill my own obsessions, because I'm a strong woman. I'm so obsessed with finding Sauron." Like, geez, like this stuff, like, it's almost like some sort of weird Indiana Jones National Treasure type thing, where they're like not hunting for treasure, they're just hunting for clues. This doesn't feel very Lord of the Rings-esque. So they go into this one tomb where she thinks that Sauron was, and she pours some water on the stone, and she sees this weird, oh gosh, symbol. What is that? Is that supposed to be the Eye of Sauron? Like, what is that symbol? And then they get attacked by a snow troll or whatever it is. Like, when I saw this in the trailer, I thought this was like some sort of weird Witcher monster, because this does not look like the types of trolls that you... This is a big problem that this show has. Like, you'd expect with this being another live-action adaptation of Tolkien's work, if you will, you'd expect them to try to play homage to a lot of the stuff that Peter Jackson did in both The Lord of the Rings and, to a lesser extent, the Hobbit movies. But yet, this... If I can... Geez, this video player sucks. Can I see a good image of this? Like does that look like... does that look like anything that we saw from any of the movies? I know that people can have their own interpretations, but still, that just looks ridiculous. And so we get a fight where... Oh gosh, like, if I could get rid of this, like... Where the snow troll is coming, and they have their bows at the ready. And this guy, I don't think he's holding a bow. Look at that. And it's kind of dark with the stupid this over it, but I don't think he's holding a bow. He's just had an arrow, but... Am I crazy? Am I crazy with that? Because that is inexcusable as this fight scene is, because then we get this one scene where one of Galadriel's companions puts his sword down, and she catapults off it. Let's see that again. Like, just look at this. Just look at this. What the hell is that? I know that some people have some problems with some of the stunts that they pull in the movies. I can agree in some parts, like especially with like The Hobbit, where like Legolas is escaping this collapsing bridge. But that is inexcusable. That is stupid. Like, what the hell was that? And of course, she takes it all down because she's strong, she's woman, and she's Galadriel. Even though Galadriel never wielded a sword from any of the works we saw, I'm sure she did some fighting, because in the appendices, again, there's some fights that went on during the War of the Ring, where where the people of the elves of Mirkwood are are purging the woods from Sauron's aid, and Galadriel is helping the elves there. But I don't think she was never something like this. She's just made to be this bitter, angry, and obsessed, this warrior who's just she's just so ridiculously obsessed and trying to find Sauron. Like, when was she ever like that in any of the things? And then 17 minutes in, we get our title drop, which 17 minutes, like, God, that's ridiculous. And then here's a big major problem with this story. Like, if I just take away all this bullshit politics that Hollywood's trying to push in there, like trying the diversity and like we're trying representation, like if I just put all that to the side, this show, like from what I've seen, is just a mess. Like, The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are both very well structured. You start with the Hobbits and you pretty much follow them specifically. Like, in this show, there's so much stuff going on. It's hard to keep up, and it's just like I don't feel myself getting attached to anyone here because there's just so much going on, and they have to keep juggling all different plots. There's like 5 different plots going on in these 2 episodes alone. Sure, like in the Lord of the Rings, when Frodo and Sam separated from the rest of the Fellowship, I mean, there's definitely subplots there, but they at least build it up. In the Fellowship of the Ring, both the book and the movie, we follow just solely one plot thread throughout the whole thing. Like, it's just the Fellowship on their journeys, and then they split up at the end, and then we're well attached to them, and we are definitely well invested in what happens to them in the next 2 parts of the story. But here it just starts out, and I just can't get attached to any of them. So anyway, we have these people who are hunters, which I think, why are they wearing elk horns? Like, how is that supposed to, like, is that supposed to be some sort of weird camouflage? Because that just looks really stupid. Of course, I'm pretty sure many of us are all well aware with what Hollywood's doing. Like, The Lord of the Rings is Tolkien set it up as supposed to be like a mythology specifically set for ancient England, because all the myths were lost to wars and lost to time, and so he wanted to create something solely for England. So stuff like this, like, I don't mean to sound insensitive, but I'm pretty sure many people know the whole racial agenda that Hollywood has to have. Like, you can't have everything be all white. That's not inclusive. That's not representative. We want to have people of all races in. We have to mix them all in and just have every culture look the exact same, have no identity. You need to make them stand out. But when it comes to Black Panther, no, we'll have it all be entirely. We're fine with having it just entirely black. We can't have it all white. It's just stupid. Then we go to the Hobbit. Oh, I'm sorry, Harfoot, because apparently Amazon doesn't own the rights to hobbits, so they have to call them Harfoot, which they're just another kind of hobbit. They're not like some sort of ancestor. That's the right word. Of course, they're all mixed race, and personally, in a way, I don't have. If I just take away all the politics that Hollywood's trying to throw at us, I wouldn't mind that at all. But yeah, when I see what they're intentionally trying to do, it's pretty bad. So now we go to plot 2 of our story. We meet these 2 Harfoots, Nori Brandy. We meet this girl, Nori Brandyfoot, and her friend Poppy, who are basically just a female Frodo and Sam, pretty much. Who are just hunting, well, not hunting, they're gathering berries. And then there's wolves, or wargs, probably, I guess that's what. Then we go to Elrond. Yep, this fruitcake here is supposed to be Elrond. Like, apparently, like, why do they have all these really nice haircuts? Like, why do they, like, does any of this look very, like, the elves, the way Peter Jackson portrayed them, and obviously Tolkien too, like, he made them look so ethereal, like that scene it specifically, both Fellowship and the Ring, like, I don't know how many people watched I'm sure true fans saw the extended cuts, but I don't know how many normies watched the extendeds, but, like, the first scene that we see of the elves in the extended version, like, when they're going through the forest, you see these elves crossing by, it just seems so otherworldly, like, these don't seem otherworldly. So anyway, Galadriel has returned. She's being honored for her events, even though she's going against what the High King Gil-galad wants. Yeah, it's just so much that's going on. We go back to the Harfoots. Young girl Nori here wants to see the outside world, but her mother doesn't. Then anyway, all the elves are given honors from High King Gil-galad, and Galadriel's wearing this stupid armor that doesn't fit her at all, or doesn't fit a woman at all. It just looks completely garbage on her, and she's just got this angry face. I have to find Sauron. I will not rest until I find Sauron. She's insufferable. It's funny. I wasn't, again, bringing up Last Jedi. Maybe I just didn't really see the real problems that movie had, but I didn't seem to mind, like, at least with something like Rey, she was just an original character. But what they're doing with Galadriel, like, this is basically a character assassination on par with Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. This is just bad. And here she's just talking about how she will not stop until she finds Sauron. She's just very driven. She's just like, am I supposed? I'm neither a woman nor am I a male feminist, but am I, like, just, as a normal person, am I supposed to attach myself to her because she's just so unlikable in this? This is not a likable character at all. And she'll just go behind her people back just so that she can find Sauron, because her brother gave his life to fight Sauron, even though in the lore he died to protect the character Beren, who was in the First Age. That was not when Sauron was really at his worst. But then we go to this other area of Middle-earth. I don't really care the names. Then we meet our token black elf, who again is... who's coming here, like, people don't seem to trust him, like, blah, blah, blah. And he's falling in love with this woman named Bronwyn. And they have a connection with, which his partner seems to say that, his partner, I don't know who his name is, he says, yeah, this is insulting here. Like, they're coming to this tower. My point is, only twice in known history that has a pairing between elves and humans ever been attempted. And there's only 3 in recorded history. There was Beren and Luthien, and Tuor and Idril in the First Age. And the third one, you know who that is? Aragorn and Arwen. So, they're trying to break lore with this for no reason at all. Like, obviously, they shouldn't be together. They can't be together, and they should be together, because the third one is supposed to be Aragorn and Arwen. So, this is just, honestly, bloody insulting. And so, like, he's been stuck in this Breath of the Wild tower. I swear, this looks like Breath of the Wild. I just want to go hang gliding out there after putting my Sheikah slate. It's been a while since I played that there and gaining information of Hyrule. I just want to go gliding. Like, he's just there, like, getting attached to the people, blah, blah, blah. So we see this woman who never existed in Tolkien's work, nor that black elf named Arondir, or this woman's kid whose name is Theo. There seems to be having problems with, like, the livestock, and apparently this kid finds a sword hidden, this kind of this ridiculous looking sword that, like, what is this weird spiraling stuff around the blade? That just looks unnecessary. And then, so, regardless of Galadriel's desires to seek after Sauron, she decides to go to Valinor with the other elves, but she just does not want to give up, and she sucks. She is just bad in this. Oh, yeah, and then apparently these two find part of this nearby town burned to the ground, but this is something that really bothers me. Galadriel is just, you should be glad that you're going there, but no, like, when they're all taking off their armor, laying down their stuff, I can just go back to the right place. Like, they're taking off their outfits. Thankfully, I remember when they first had rumors of this, they were getting intimacy coordinators so that Jeff Bezos wanted to have his own Game of Thrones. And, like, apparently they wanted to have, like, full-on sex scenes, and well, we haven't gotten that far yet. Hopefully they cut back on that, but I can't hold my breath on this. But anyway, they're getting their weapons. So fortunately, when I'm saying they're undressing, they're not actually undressing all clothes, but she's still holding on to this blade that belonged to her brother, and like, gosh, like, look at her. Like, dude, like, he's like, Galadriel, just let it go. And she's like, no, I can't. I have to hold on. Like, just, it's so bad. Like, she is bad. Anyway, this episode is just basically nothing. It's just a bunch of boring setup for stuff that never even happened in the books. They're literally making it up as we go, considering that they have a lot of made-up characters, like these Harfoots. These guys down here, I'm not going to go back there. They may have some familiar names like Galadriel and Elrond, but these are not the same ones, especially from the looks. Like, then when they go in, she just stares directly at the camera very awkwardly. And then she just decides to just jump ship. Just jump ship. There may not be any boats for miles to see, but I have to go back to find Sauron. It doesn't matter if I just get I just get marooned out to sea. I have to go find Sauron. And so she just... But then, there's also, with the Harfoots, there's this comet that flies past, and the young girls find this one old man just lying in the middle of this crater. And so that's how it ends. It's just a bunch of dumb setup for stuff that we don't know, nor do we care about. Like, the movies were so good at setting them up. They just started so simple. Again, Fellowship of the Ring started pretty much solely with the hobbits and Gandalf. We just get so attached to Frodo, Sam, Merry, Pippin, and then slowly as the movies go on, we get introduced to the rest of the Fellowship, and we get introduced... But this is just throwing everything at us to try to pull us in, but nothing's really sticking. And then now we have an actual intro this time with sand. And this is the first time we get... And from as far as I know, this is actually... The music that plays here is something actually done by Howard Shore, which is nice. It actually does sound like Lord of the Rings, like the music that I grew up with, but not as good, but I don't know. I can at least give some credit to that, but what is the sand? It's just making symbols of all the stuff, like, these are supposed to be the rings, or, well, part of it's like the tree, like, it's just, like, these are the two trees, even though they really have no relevance to this plot at all, because that was thousands of years ago, and that's just making other symbols. I feel like this is, again, this logo looks really cheap. I feel like I could whip that up, and I don't know how to do Photoshop at all. Again, I remember Bezos wants to make his own Game of Thrones, and he'll just take Lord of the Rings and make it that way. But this opening just makes no sense. Like, what are all these symbols? Anyway, like, here's where a lot of the plot threads get really bad, because just more convoluted, because it's just like there's like 4 or 5 different plots going on at the same time, and it's like, just dial back and just focus at least on one per people. So anyway, we cut back to Galadriel, who just goes swimming for whatever. Like, what was her plan here? Seriously, what is her plan? Gosh, I'm getting more pissed off at this the more that I think about it. And so anyway, the two girls, Nori and Poppy, they go find this old man who, gosh, if what people like Nerdrotic are saying, and all the rest of the crew from Geeks and Gamers, Heels vs. Babyface, Mauler, they're saying it's true that this guy's supposed to be Gandalf, even though he's not supposed to be in the Second Age at all. He only came in the Third Age. This is not gonna... I do not like this. Like, this is gonna suck. So, then he awakens and gives this weird, like... sorry. There's some weird surge of power where just, like, the rocks fly and then nothing happens, and... Anyway... So the two girls try to hide him and try to look after him, even though they have really no reason to do so. They just call this old man the Stranger. He doesn't talk, he can't understand words, and it's just weird. I'll get to that when I get to that. And then these two, they go down to the village, and so Arondir, the Black Elf, separates, and meanwhile... No, in the last episode, like, Elrond went to see Celebrimbor, who's the guy who forged the Rings of Power. I think. I'm a little fuzzy on that. And so they're talking like they drop a lot of lore from the first age. Like here, this is supposed to be the hammer Feanor, the guy who created the Silmarils and the Silmarillion. And they're talking about Morgoth. Like I would love to see that stuff, but nope. Just kind of like dangle the keys for the hardcore fans, but we're not buying it. We're not buying it at all. I feel kind of bad because I'm kind of giving them some money with this, but hey, if I can do some part, I'm not famous on YouTube, but if I can change some people's minds, I guess something good comes of it. So anyway, he goes to him for a little while, and they go to see the dwarves. And I gotta say, like, I've never been too iffy on special effects. I've never been too picky on them. Like a lot of people rag on stuff like CGI or green screens. I tend to not notice that stuff most of the time. It's one of the reasons why I wasn't too critical of, say, the Star Wars prequels with their abundance of CGI. I don't know. I can notice some of it now, but it's not something it's not something I really cared about. And then it's not something I really care about now. I don't really tend to notice it, but I think I can notice it here. Like they're in this nice sunny mountain range, and their lighting just looks off. It doesn't look real. So they go to Khazad-dûm, which, unless if anyone watches this, if someone could correct me, aren't there only like 2 entrances? Like one being the one that we all know about from Tolkien. You know what I'm talking about. There's the one at the end of the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, and of course the door. Can't remember the name of the door. You know what I'm talking about. This one. There are only like 2 doors, so what is this entrance? I feel like I could make some sort of Wizard of Oz reference to the dwarf talking through this little hole. You can see it down there. But yes, this video player sucks. I can't find the exact thing I want. Like that. Like, I swear I could make some sort of Wizard of Oz, but it's been a while since I've seen that movie, so I can't really make a good reference. But anyway, he challenges the leader. We probably could see green screen a lot more noticeably. I mean, I think it doesn't look half bad, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that is a green screen. Yeah, kind of. I think it's kind of noticeable. Anyway, he goes to see the leader of this group, Durin, and he tests him to like a rock breaking contest, or else he'll be thrown out because there's some bad blood between the two. So yeah, there's 3 plots already introduced in 20 minutes of this episode. We have Galadriel, we have the Harfoots, we have Elrond. That's 3. Oh yeah, and the 2 people, and the woman Bronwyn and the elf Arondir. That's 4, and they split up. So that's 5 plots introduced in 1 episode. So anyway, we go as they're doing that, we see her as she meets this weird homeless man. Like, apparently it's supposed to be Gandalf. That is just awful. Like, this guy's like your average homeless man. He's just creepy and it's just wrong on all fronts. He doesn't talk. He's all dirty. And she tries to get him to eat, and he eats snails and just crunches the shells, and it's just gross. Like what am I supposed to get from this? It just grosses me out. It just, again, it looks like many of the homeless guys that I see where I work. It's not pleasant to look at. Then he's just using some power, and like her father, as he's setting up some festival tents. His foot snaps, and yeah, it's gross. Anyway, back with Galadriel, she finds this crew shipwrecked, including this guy, which is, they say something again. If what Nirog says about this character to be true, that he possibly might most likely is Sauron, like also, what place in Middle Earth would this woman have a shaved head? There's a line I want to see, but does she look dangerous to you? Looks can be deceiving. Like, good God, could you be any more on the nose? Like, if what they say about this guy is true, that is bullshit. That Amazon, just piss off. Ugh. And then apparently this giant sea creature attacks them, and she abandons them, but everyone gets attacked by this man. And then we go back to the dwarves still doing it, but Elrond, even after his hammer breaks and Nixon is given a new one, he just submits and doesn't want to humiliate them. So then he tries to escort him home. And again, I never seem to care much about visual effects, but this shot, this is ugly. This is bad. Like, this shot is bad. Like, God, look at that. That is bad. Oh, God. That's just painful to look at. Like, just, that is so fake. It is, ugh. Anyway, they talk about how he's not upset because of the usual divide between elves and dwarves. Like, they were friends, and so much of this lore breaking, like, haven't they been rivals for even during this time, and that these two are having friends? I don't think Elrond ever had a friend with, or maybe he did, but they're just pulling things off. So just like Amazon's just pulling things out of their asses to create this plot. Like, another thing that this plot is supposed to be apparently taking place over the course of just a few years, when the Second Age takes place over 3,400 years. That is not a good idea. Like, anyway, like, they're having a squabble because Elrond missed most of his life, where he married and had kids of his own. And then he takes him to his home, where his wife, Disa, who's played by the first dwarf of color, who has an accent whose accent is not convincing at all. And also her eyes glow in very uncomfortable ways. It just looks weird. And also she's supposed to have a beard. If I can actually get a good shot of her. Like, she's supposed to have a beard, but apparently, according to certain Tolkien scholars, they say they never did. But we know they did. Like, I don't like her eyes. Her eyes just creep me out. The colors they have they just glow unnaturally. It makes her look very sinister, if you ask me. Anyway, they have a friendly talk with each other, but then we cut to Galadriel, who's still bitter, still sullen. She's not trusting this man. But she's just so, like, when was she ever like this? I don't think, like, she's supposed to be thousands of years old here, so they're acting like, oh, she's so much younger. Or she's so much younger in experience. She's still thousands of years old. She wouldn't be acting like this. Hollywood is full of so many hacks. Anyway, she runs back to her village to warn them of danger, but they don't believe. And he's getting hunted by a bunch of creatures, likely orcs. And then he gets kidnapped. Then she goes back to her house, where she and her kid are attacked by an orc. They put up a fight and blah. This orc, where I swear they do many things, like stab him multiple times, try to hang him. Should do many things to kill it already, but it's just way too strong for them. And then she eventually cuts off his head, and then oh, she shows all those men. Like, I know what you're doing, Amazon. Just piss off. Like, you've been doing this for so many years now. We're not just you, but Disney, Warner Brothers, everyone trying to. Women are so much better than men. Like, Disney's doing it right now with She-Hulk. They apparently released an episode where She-Hulk twerks with Megan Thee Stallion. I said it on another video that this show is like the death of art. Not this show, but She-Hulk. But you could say that with this too. Then it just cuts to them going through a storm, and then, like, God, like, so many plots being juggled through this episode. It's just tiring. Like, I swear, this episode just never would end. It goes back to them where they see him, like, communicating with fireflies, like, making a little constellation in the sky, and then the fireflies drop dead somehow. Gotta wait. Oh, gosh. And then we go back to the dwarves, where they have this treasure. He's a friend. I trust him. There's no trust between hammer and rock. You see, one or the other must surely break. But what is in this box? it's a treasure. It's something very important, and then they're just like, what is it's clearly something of great importance, and then it just cuts. It cuts to another scene. Like, oh, like, why would you tease us like that? Like, these people don't know how to actually create suspension. They just have to tease something and then they just like tease it. Like, recently we read the Harry Potter books where it's like Harry's being teased with the dreams of seeing the rooms in the Ministry of Magic. Like, it's like that, but this is so much worse. And then, yeah, he has this weird sword that seems to light. It has a symbol of Sauron, which when his blood touches it, it seems to light on fire. And then after they survive this shipwreck, they encounter this guy, and then it ends like, ugh. I'm probably not doing myself many favors by actually giving Amazon attention to this, but jeez, this is not good. This is really not good. It's funny. I was not very into things like when Ghostbusters 2016 came out. I wasn't very caring then. That was mainly because I only saw Ghostbusters 1 a few times, and I'm not a big Ghostbusters fan, so it didn't really bother me that much. But then when Star Wars came out, like, I wasn't as let down with The Last Jedi as many other people were, but I definitely knew that there was some problems with it. Like, and then you just see it would happen with so many other things: Star Trek, Doctor Who, Marvel, Terminator, or The Wheel of Time, which is also on Amazon, that they're butchering. They're just doing all this stuff, and it's not just that it's not only that the stuff is bad, not only that they're just pushing their politics, but it's also, what offends me the most is that the people behind it constantly attack us. Like, we're the problems with stuff. It's not the fact that they made garbage. It's us, because we're against diversity. We're against women in power. Like, fuck off, you people. Like, it's just, I probably might get demonetized by that, but it's so insulting. Sometimes I've been trying to play off a little bit stuff because I don't really care about this show, because so much of this is just made up. Like, no, like, it's not based off of Lord of the Rings here. It's not based off of stuff that Silmarillion. It's not stuff that Tolkien actually wrote. They're just pulling it out of their asses just so that they can both make money off of it and, more importantly, to push an agenda. And this is just so tiring. I hope this backfires in them, because it has been backfiring in terms of the fan reactions. So much worse than they have ever been suspecting. That's obviously why they wanted to shut down the dislike bar on YouTube, because they don't want people to see what people are actually thinking. I don't think I'm going to dedicate myself too much to this show like so many other YouTubers that I watch, like Nerdrotic. I should get around to watching Friday Night Tights, because it's obviously started doing stuff right now. But yeah, Lord of the Rings is very near and dear to me. Like, I just watched a small snippet of The Fellowship of the Ring yesterday, and just the power of the words that was spoken. I just watched Frodo and Gandalf talking to each other in the Mines of Moria, like Frodo wishing he never had the ring, and Gandalf saying that it's not for us to choose. I'm paraphrasing very well. It's not for us to. We don't choose. You know what I mean. I kind of want to say what he said, but I don't want to butcher their lines. So, just that one scene just choked me up. It's been something that's been so powerful for me as a kid. Like, the movies have been so influential in my life as a kid, and just these two episodes do nothing. They just don't do anything. It's just, we need to rise up and make our own stuff. That's something I like what a lot of people are doing nowadays. Like YouTuber Young Rippa, he's making his own comic line. He's raised $3.5 million in his pre-order campaign. He's not some big name. He sure has 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, but 3.5 million all on his own, that's insane. I'm making my own thing. I don't know when I'll exactly share it, but I want to do stuff like that too. Be involved with the culture, try to make do something better than the Marxists that run everything in this world. But with that said, that are my thoughts. This show sucks, and it's likely going to get even worse. And I both am excited to see and am very much dreading. So, take care, guys. Bye.